What do you do when you see somebody else on life's podium? What happens to you when you see somebody else with that job, that medal, that success, that deep down you would like for yourself? Good evening, Madam Toastmaster, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to take you back 5 years to the evening of Monday the 10th of July 2006. It's 8:30 p.m. high up in the French alpine resort of Alpe d'Huez. After a scorching hot day, the sun's finally lowering in the sky and shadows are lengthening. There's a wind up there on top of the Alp and the temperatures are finally cooling down. The carnival atmosphere that has dominated much of the day has now fizzled out. The roads have reopened to traffic, the crowds have gone home, and everywhere you look, there are people dismantling marquees and barricades. I'm with a coachload of cycling compatriots. We've just had a picnic buffet up at the summit, and we're now reboarding our coach to get ferried back to our hotel. And you know what? It's been a long, grueling day. Here are the headlines. The sound of a 4:30 a.m. alarm wake-up call awakened us at the start. The feel of 30-degree temperatures tortured us throughout. The sight of people dropping with exhaustion intimidated us at the end. All in all, it's been a massive media event, a bit like the London Marathon is here in England. Only we're not talking running, we're talking cycling. For we have all just done what is arguably the toughest one-day event open to non-professional cyclists, an annual event called the Étape du Tour. 8,000 cyclists from all around the world get to pitch themselves against an arduous alpine stage of the Tour de France. And today we have picked up the gauntlet of a torturous 200-kilometre trek, which tested us with 90 kilometres of climbing through 3 high alpine passes. Unlike the London Marathon, the Étape has an arch villain, known as the broom wagon. Now the broom wagon is a bit like a guard at a Nazi labour camp. Its job is to cull the weak. It eliminates those who aren't tough enough to keep up with a ruthless time schedule. For you see, the Étape has strict time cut-offs at various points along the route. And if, God forbid, you're taken prisoner by the broom wagon, then it really is a case of, for you, Tommy, the war is over. You do get to cross the finish line, but it's in a bus and long after all the other cyclists have done so. At the end of the day, I am with the 5,000 other cyclists who won the Battle of the Broom. 3,000 didn't. Most of them were ill-prepared. Most of them were British. On our coach, congratulations and commiserations are due in roughly equal measures. You've got to be careful about what you say to whom. Looking back on that 5 years later, I realised that those who went down in flames were brought down not by their lack of ability, but by their delusion. They believed what I call the Midas Touch fallacy. The Midas Touch fallacy is a belief that success is due far more to innate ability than to hard graft. Those unsuccessful Étape expeditionaries thought they had sufficient Midas touch to prepare for the Étape and to pull it off all on their own. They didn't attempt to speak to people who had done it before. They didn't objectively assess their fitness, their stamina and their cycling ability against what was required for the Étape so that they could then train to bridge the gap. If they realised their misjudgment before the race, it was far too late to do anything about it to rectify the situation. How do I know all this? Well, I'll tell you how. 2006 wasn't the first time that I entered the ATAP. In fact, I managed to get a place 2 years earlier in 2004. I had just got into cycling, I heard about the big event, and I was going to commemorate my 40th birthday by riding that big one. I left it far too late before I contacted people who understood what the ATAP was and knew how to prepare for it. With just 3 months to go, I contacted an ATAP veteran down in Dorset who offered to take me on a training ride. Now, he was 15 years older than me. I was pretty confident to take anything that he could throw at me. Big mistake. Have you seen how hilly Dorset is? I tell you, it was a real baptism of fire as he dragged me on an arse-breaking roller coaster of a ride from West Bay to Watchet and back again. And that's over 100 miles of undulating terrain, as we say euphemistically in cycling speak. At the end of this ordeal, I was collapsing in a comatose heap, and he added insult to my exhaustion by giving me his candid assessment, which was, I don't make the grade, I'm not ready for the big event. I drove those 70 miles back to Hampshire, and I was spitting feathers every inch of the way. And over the next few days, I researched, I reflected, I re-evaluated, and I abandoned my dream. 2 years later, in 2006, I can't tell you how much I was helped by that experience, and particularly the fact that my would-be mentor had helped me with education rather than deluded me with validation. I joined a cycling club, I rode with people who were familiar with the ATAP, I really understood what was required, and I trained hard. I cycled thousands of miles. I'll say that again. I cycled thousands of miles because there was no natural ability, yet no Midas touch, just dogged determination, listening to others, and loads of effort. As Marion mentioned earlier on, this year I did what I think was fairly well in the International Speech Contest. And at one point I had high hopes of being in the UK and Ireland final. But I was beaten by a newcomer to Toastmasters, Malachi Talabi, who in fact has now become the UK and Ireland national champion. Question for you. Is Malachi Talabi more talented than you or I? I very much doubt it. He will be the first one to tell you that he owes his success to coaching, practice, and perseverance. Like the ATAP, Toastmasters can be a journey where you can pursue a dream. But in order to make that dream come real, you have to get real. And in this coming Toastmasters year, let us foster within the club a spirit of mentoring, mutual support, and most importantly of all, honest feedback. Let us create an environment where we can each sponsor each other's respective journeys of self-discovery, learning, and achievement. Simple formula in life: practice plus honest feedback equals success. Thomas Edison took years and 1,000 experiments before he quite literally had that light bulb moment. That's why he said, genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. So, when you see someone on life's pedestal, let us remember we are not witnessing God-given talent. We are seeing the end of a long journey. And sometimes you have to see the beginning to appreciate that.